Hello guys, in this video we are going to see about the basics of SQL. Before writing the queries, before getting into the queries, we should learn some of the basics about an overview of the SQL. So now we are going to learn about the three types of application. What are the three types of application? Types of applications. The three types of applications are web application, client server application, and the third one is standalone application. These are the three types of applications, and we are going to learn about those things. Now we are going to learn what is mean by application. Application is nothing but it is a collection of softwares or a list of programs which are combined together to perform a specific task. Application is nothing but the collection of software or a list of programs which are combined together to perform a specific task. Yeah. These applications are classified into three types. They are web application, client server application, and standalone application. We will first learn about what is web application. Web application is nothing but it can be opened only through browser. Okay, that is called web application. For example, we are having Chrome, Bing browser, then Firefox, etc. So these are the application which can be opened or operated or can be used only through the browser. Okay, by using the internet. Now what is the character of this application? The characters are this application does not require installation. So installation is not required. Second, it requires internet to function. Internet is required. Then these data are stored globally. These data are stored globally. That is, database is required to store these data. Okay, web application is nothing but application which can be opened or used only through the browsers. For example, Chrome, Microsoft Bing, Firefox, etc. These are the applications which Brave browser. These are the applications for the example of web application. So the characters of these applications are the installation is not required, a separate installation is not required for these applications, and internet is required for these applications. Internet is required for these applications to operate, and the data stored in this application are globally stored. Okay, the data are globally stored and a separate data required for this applications. Second we are going to learn about standalone application. Standalone application. Yes. The standalone application is accessible in a single device and does not need any additional features. This application can be accessed in a single device and does not require any additional features. Example, calculator, then calendar, then clock. These are the applications which can be accessed in a single device and which does not need any additional features. So for example, calculator, calendar, clock, we can be accessed in mobile phone, these applications. Okay, now let's see about the characters of these applications. For these applications, the installation is required. Installation, then internet is not required. Internet is not required. Then the data stored locally within the device. There is no database is required separately. Okay, these are the three main characters of standalone application. They are installation is required, we have to install these applications, but in our mobile phones they are installed at default. Then internet does not require to access these calculators, calendar, clock and all. And the data stored are locally within the device. The data will be stored and a separate database is not required. Then next we will go to the next type of application, client server application. Client server application. What is client server application? Any server application which is accessible through client application. Accessible through client application is known as client server application. Any kind of application, any kind of server application which is accessible through client application is known as client server application. For example, the all kind of social media, Instagram, Meta, then Messenger, LinkedIn, etc. All kind of social medias are client server applications. Examples of client server application. Now we will learn the characters of these applications. What are the characters of these applications? This application requires installation. Installation is required for these applications. Internet is required to use these applications. Next, the data stored in these applications are globally. Data are stored globally and a separate database is required. These are the characters of client server application. Let's recap once. Application means collection of software or list of programs which are combined together to perform a specific task. It's known as application. And we are having three types of application: web application, standalone application, and client server. In web application, what is meant by web application? It can only access through the browsers. For example, Chrome, Bing, Firefox are the application which can be used only through browsers. For these, what are the characters of these applications? For these applications, installation is required, internet also required, and data stored or globally a database is required. Okay. Then standalone application. The application which can be accessed in a single device and no need of additional features. It's called as standalone application. The word standalone itself, it does not depend on any other things. Example, calculator, calendar, clock are the examples of standalone application. The characters of these standalone applications are: installation is required, internet does not require access these applications, and the data stored in these applications are locally stored. The data will be stored within the device and a separate database is not required. Next, client server application. Any server application which is accessible through client application is known as client server application. Okay, example of server applications. Examples of client server applications are Instagram. We having Instagram server. We are having Meta server, Meta, Messenger, LinkedIn, example Google Pay, Phone Pay, all kinds of social medias. The application which clients are using, which customers are using is known as client server application. The characters of client server applications are: installation is required. We need to install separately Instagram, Meta, Messenger and all. And internet is required for all these application. Internet is must to. The data stored in these applications are global. Globally it will be stored. A separate database is required to store these data. Next we are going to learn about three-tier architecture. That is simply a working principle how a client server application is working. That is the three-tier architecture. For example, we are taking Instagram. Okay, let's take Instagram as an example for this client server application. Now we are having Instagram. This is Instagram application. Now it is the front end. Okay, this is the front end, or we call it as presentation layer. This is the web page of the application. Yeah. Okay, next we are having server of the Instagram. This application is always connected to the server. Whenever the server is not working, the application will also does not work. Now we are having the server here. It is also called as middleware or business layer. It is also called as middleware or business layer. Next, the server will be connected to the database. Now we are having database of Instagram server. It is also called as the database layer is also called as backend. All the data are stored in the database, that is called backend or data layer. The front page of the application, what we are seeing, is called a front end or presentation layer. Then the Instagram application will be connected to the server, and server will be connected to the database. Okay, whenever we are accessing Instagram, first it will ask the login information. We need to type in username and password. It will ask the username and password. So separate request will be sent to the server. It is called HTTPS request. Then we are entering the username and password. For example, we'll take Surya, which is the username, and password as Surya123. Whenever this request is sent to the server will check the entered data with the database. How it will access the database? By using SQL. By using the SQL, the server will access the database to ensure the entered data is correct or not. Then the database will send the data. This database will send the data server through same SQL. By using SQL, the data will be sent to the server. Then how it shows the response? That is through HTTPS response. It will show whether our entered data is correct or not. If it is wrong, means it will show username is invalid or username is wrong. When we open the Instagram, it will ask login ID and password, username and password. The username what we are giving will be sent as a HTTPS request to the server. The server will ensure the entered data username in the database where all the data are stored. It will ensure whether our username is correct or not by accessing the database through SQL, and the SQL will send the username. It will ensure the username to the server, and the server will respond in the web page. If we entered a wrong username, means a request will be sent to the server. The server will access the database through SQL. The SQL will send the username to the server. Then the server will respond as wrong username or invalid username. This is the working principle of three-tier architecture. Next, we are going to learn about what is data. We learned about application. What is application? Three types of application and three-tier architecture of client-server application. Characters of the application. Now we are going to learn about what is data. Data is a raw fact which describes the attributes. Attributes is nothing but the properties of an entity. Entity is nothing but the object, any object. For example, we are taking a mobile phone. Let's take Realme. The data of the Realme the data such as RAM, the OS, okay, what operating system we are using, which version of OS we are using, which OS we are using, Android, like that and all. These kind of information are the data. So data is a raw fact which describes the properties of an object. What are the properties are there? RAM, OS, then what are the properties? Color, then weight of the mobile phone. All kinds of information, all kinds of attributes of the mobile of the entity is known as data. Yeah. Next we are going to learn about what is database. Database is a place. Database is a place or medium where the data are stored in systematic and organized manner. The data are stored in systematic and organized manner. The place or medium where the data are stored is known as database. Okay. Now we can perform 4 operations on the database. It is called as CRUD operation. It's called as CRUD operation. The first one is create or insert. We can create data or insert data. That is the second. Read or retrieve. We can read the data or access the data. That is retrieve the data. Next, we can update or modify. We can update the data, that is edit the data or modify the data. Then delete or drop the data. These are the 4 operations we can do in the database. That is called as CRUD operation. Create or insert the data, read or retrieve the data, update or modify the data, and delete or drop the data. This is called as CRUD operation. I will show with the database diagram so that it will be easily understood for you. We can create or insert the data. We can read or retrieve the data. We can update or modify the data, and we can delete or drop the data. Okay, delete or drop the data. These are the 4 operations we can do in the database.